that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
Hello everyone, and make sure that you are walking with rhythm. So this is kind of a new thing for me. It's kind of a nice feeling. Because, I'm the Star Wars Expanded Universe guy. I've been going through the Star Wars Expanded Universe, and I've read a couple Halo books here and there and a couple other things, right? But I've never been at the forefront of something. I guess what I'm trying to say is I haven't reviewed something brand new. But when I heard about this book coming out, I realized it was 2 years prior to the original Dune novel, which meant it took place before the trilogy that came out just a little bit ago. I was like, I have to talk about it. So today, for you, I have Princess of Dune by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. This is the most recent prequel novel. They've made a couple. Some stand out, some that I wouldn't say are as good as Frank Herbert's, but are probably the best that Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson could possibly do, and I think it ranks really high up there. In fact, depending on how I feel about the later books in the Dune universe, because I hear conflicting things about Chapter House and Heretics, that those are a bit not as good. So I might actually like all these more, but we'll see. But the Butlerian Jihad trilogy and the Schools of Dune trilogy, phenomenal. Prelude to Dune, pretty decent, not the best of their work. And then there's another trilogy set before that I got to read, but not yet. This Princess of Dune came out October 3rd, 2023. So very recent addition to the Dune universe. I've been hearing some people online. Is this a cash grab? In a sense, I mean, you could say that. You could say the same thing about the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Does any book need to exist? No. Does any show or book or video game or comic in the Disney canon of Star Wars or the Expanded Universe need to exist? Does the novels in Halo need to exist? No, none of these things need to exist. You have the main story, but it expands the universe, which is always something you want in a franchise. I think you should want anyway, unless it's a very one movie through line done. That's different. But in a franchise, make it broad, spread it out, making money. Yeah, that's kind of everybody's main goal. They got to put food on the table. But I don't want to get too much into that. I just want to say, whether or not it is or isn't. I mean, yes, I acknowledge that it's a couple. I mean, originally, the Dune Part 2 by Denis Villeneuve was supposed to come out in November, but then the writer's strike and everything, so it's not coming out until March. But that would have coincided perfectly where somebody could have read a novel right before watching that second half. And what is Princesses of Dune? This focuses on Princess Irulan, who is the daughter to Emperor Shaddam, and Chani, who of course will later become married, or not married, but she will be with Paul Atreides. Speaking of Atreides, they are not in this book whatsoever. There's not a single Atreides. There's a mention of them, I think, at one point, but this entire novel revolves around the Shaddam family and Chani, and that's it. I want to get with the negative real quick, because I think I rather enjoyed this novel quite a bit. I didn't know what to expect from it, but I enjoyed it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I was kind of bored by it. The Chani stuff with Liet Kynes and the Fremen, it just didn't do it for me. They have this whole thing where they plan on killing Harkonnen. You know it's not going to happen because of the original novel. And I don't know. I guess I don't find the Fremen that interesting apart from the original novel and without Paul there to kind of like contrast that with the whole Messiah thing. So it's just more the same, I guess. I don't know. It's not horrible. It's not great. There's this plot with the Tleilaxu that gets brought in at the very beginning and then isn't addressed again until like the very end of the novel. And that felt kind of like, why? Why even include it then if it's like they hint at this being like a thing at the very beginning and then it comes around at the end, but it doesn't really work. Um, but that's like half the novel, so it was fine, but it wasn't something I loved. But the things I did love was everything else. So everything with Princess Irulan, maybe she gets more character development in Dune Messiah and Children of Dune. I haven't read those novels yet. I've only read the original novel, but I know that she's kind of like this historian. Like there's a lot of quotes in the original Dune novel because it's like this out of like in universe like history book where he gets quotes from, and Erlon writes a lot of them. But as for what we actually get in the novel of her, we don't get that much. So I don't really know who she is as a person. So this was a good way for me to know this person. And again, yes, it does work out because part two is coming out and Princess Irulan's going to play a big part in the second half of that movie. So it makes sense to make a novel where you can learn about her more here. But everything with Shaddam and her was phenomenal. I love Fenring. I love Shaddam, and that's in large part actually because they were just kind of there in the original Dune book. I love Fenring now, and I love. I mean, I don't love Shaddam. I think he's a terrible person, but I like Shaddam's character, and I like Fenring because of Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. Um, but yeah, there's also this whole other thing. I'm trying to be as non-spoiler as possible. Usually with reviews, I'll give like a spoiler section, but those are books that have been out for like 20 years now. I'm gonna keep this spoiler-free completely, or as spoiler-free as I can be, because it just came out like at the beginning of this month. Um, but there's this new character introduced that is a whole big part of this plot point. Now, um, obviously, Shaddam is in power by the time of the original novel, but there is certain parties that are upset with his rule. And so we get this new character who starts off as this devoted servant, follower, military man, and descends. And, there's a bit of a Star Wars Rebel Alliance sort of growing. Nothing on that scale, it's much smaller than that. But it is still like unrest within, the known universe. And so I could see people disliking that, but at the same time, I kind of think that's great because it's like here's you have like here's an example of somebody trying to stop the emperor or like getting enraged at the emperor, but no one's able to actually do anything to the emperor, not truly, till Paul, and I think that works really well. But I really like this new character. I don't know if he's in that most recent trilogy they wrote or anything, but he was a great character. Commander General Zonha. I thought he was great. I loved his sections, and I loved Irulan's sections, and that's kind of what the whole book revolves around. Is that point, at least when it comes to Irulan, and then Shawnee's just trying to kill the Baron. She's not going to. Spoiler alert, obviously. And then something with the Tleilaxu, which it was okay. I preferred the Tleilaxu stuff in the prelude to Dune stuff. It wasn't that it was bad, it was just unnecessary and whatever. But I mean, to be fair, it's cool to see the universe expanded, see more things, see the Tleilaxu and everything, and because I haven't actually seen too much of the Tleilaxu, because they're not really a thing, or that much of a thing in the original novel, so I know they become bigger things later on. But so, I have to say, is this... I think I like this more than the... I like this more than House Harkonnen, the second book in the prelude to Dune series. I still prefer House Atreides. No, House Carino. House Carino is probably my favorite of the trilogy, then Atreides and Harkonnen. And then here. I mean, the stuff set 10,000 years before the books is so good. I love that. I have, peak Kevin J. Anderson and Brian Herbert. But as for this, it was a pretty fun little read. It's much shorter than most of the Dune works. There's only like 387 pages. But it is a nice look into these female characters that are powerful and important. You know, I'm not trying to be like, but Shani's very important to the later on in the story, and so is Irulan. Both are their destinies are kind of interwoven when it comes to Paul. So I think it works really well. And as for the first story I've read that doesn't have any mention of any Atreides whatsoever in it, outside of that one sentence, it was pretty good. My thing is, I feel like the Chani stuff wasn't necessarily needed to be there. But then you would have the whole dichotomy of the Chani and Irulan. But they should write more stories, focused on people that aren't the Baron or the Krynos or the Atreides. I would love more stories in the Dune universe centered around new characters, that shows different aspects of the world. I think if they're going to do anything moving forward, because they've kind of come full circle with everything, right? They've already made a sequel to Dune, which I've yet to read. They've wrote all these prequels. If they're going to do anything else, just write stories about other characters. Don't do like short story anthologies. I think that would be really cool. But that's pretty much it. I don't give ratings, but I genuinely rather liked it, so I do recommend that you check it out, especially if you haven't gotten into the novels, and you wanted to read something before the movie comes out, so and you want to know more about Princess Irulan before this movie comes out, I would recommend this book. And if you like this book, because you can read this without having to really know anything else. But I would also recommend the Prelude to Dune trilogy. And I haven't read the one after, but that one takes place, the most recent trilogy that came out takes place a year before the books. I don't know if they're good or not. I haven't read them. But those are something else you could check out before the movie, if you have enough time for all that. But anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, thumbs help out a lot. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, rock with rhythm. Walk with rhythm, or the sandworms will get you. Till next time.